Hey guys, so today we're going to be grinding the sword, going to be grinding, filing, hand sanding, and hopefully heat treating it, but I don't know about it today in this episode. But here it is. Obviously, I did start grinding it. Got the profile worked on a little bit. I'm going to refine the profile a little bit more. But I've started grinding it just to get an idea of everything, because just for how rough forging it was. Like back here it was thinner because I didn't forge a bevel, so it's a little wavy right here. And I can see some wavy spots along the spine. But I just did some rough grinding on it just to get an idea of what I want to do. So I didn't touch the guard any. Obviously I'll have to file all this out because it's extremely rough. But it's looking really good the way it's ground now. So just enough talking, just jump straight in. And I'm just gonna grind this side, and then once I get this side ground to somewhat match this side, then I'll worry about the profile and get all the profile and everything sorted out. But this is where it's at. One rough ground side, not a rough ground side. So yeah, and haven't touched the handle since a little bit of refining in the very beginning. So, yeah, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so you guys saw me work on grinding the blade, getting the fuller in, and the fuller is looking really, really nice. It's not as deep as I want it, but for how thin this sword is getting, I really don't want to mess with it, especially up here where it starts to taper down more. And I am battling just the thickness, just battling the profile, getting the bevels all perfect and everything. So I'm just taking a break from that so I don't get all, basically upset, and I just keep chasing it and keep falling into the same mistakes. So I'm going to take a break on the bevels themselves and the profile. And I have started work filing this out. I'm just gonna wait on that because I want to start the handle. So you might not be able to see it, but this is a profile I just drew out with a Sharpie really quick, because I want to have an inset handle. So I want to carve this out and inset the handle. I think for how thin this is, though, I might have to use some epoxy, but I want it to be inset, and I want it to be basically friction and epoxy. I don't want to use any sort of like pins or anything. Or put them on as scales. I want it to be physically inlaid, basically inside the handle. So that's what I'm gonna do, and also it'll just help because when I get further and further onto grinding this and the filing / hand sanding, it'll just be easier to work out the weight, because I want this to be a super light, whippy sword, and it's almost there. But because I'm going to be taking material away, and the wood that I'm using, which is Wenge, it's not going to add more weight back here into the handle. It's going to take away weight. I'm fairly certain. I don't think it's gonna. And if it does add weight, it's not going to add a considerable amount to put more weight back here to make it really noticeable. So I want to do this now before I start taking more material away, because if I start taking material away and then it feels nice with the handle not being cut out and less weight taken off the guard, then I'll just have to fix all that again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to punch some holes in the corners. and then I will just plan on connecting them with my angle grinder. I think I will make some connecting holes through here, and then I will just, so I can hammer it out, like punch it out, and then I will file out the profile of it and get that all done. And I won't put the handle in, obviously, because these pieces for the handle is just at a flap disc finish. So I want to get this out, and I'll worry about setting the handle later. But that's the plan right now, is to get this all done, so I don't mess with the weight and everything. So that's the plan for right now. So I'm gonna jump straight into doing that. Dang it. Well. Hoo-ah! Okay, so we have quite the problem. So as you just saw, so I was working on the fuller, I started sanding it, and it wasn't coming out right. Because I was using my angle grinder, I was tilting it, it was just really uneven, and I couldn't get a lot of the deep grinder marks out of it. And there's no real good way to really hide them, like with bluing or leaving the surface like oxidized. So I just decided to start grinding a back bevel onto it, make a double bevel blade, and that could work. But I overestimated how much material I had, and I ground basically the middle super duper thin, and I broke it. I was trying to straighten it a little bit because it got hot and it warped, just from the weight of the blade, and it broke. So what I plan on trying to do to hopefully save this guard and everything back here, because there's not enough material to try to make this into an actual handle. Maybe if I could fudge it in some sort of way, but my plan is right now I want to try forge welding this old file onto this with a simple joint like this, like a scarf joint like that. Hopefully this can work. I don't know how well it's gonna work. I don't have any borax, so I'm gonna have to use the drop your tongs technique, where you take the one piece and you lay it over it and hold it down, and then you hammer it. I'm gonna have to try that. I've never done this before. I've only forge welded successfully like 2 times, and that was with canister Damascus. Nothing like this. So hopefully this can work, or in the time that I'm trying to do this, I can figure out a way to maybe hopefully save this guard and handle. But this is a real bummer that I have to do this, resort to techniques this way, and do it this way. But there's no time like the present, and there's no better time to try it when your back's up against the wall. So you have to figure this out, adapt, and overcome. So that's the plan. Before I'm gonna let the forge heat up just a tiny bit more, and I'm gonna prepare my welding surfaces a tiny bit more, grind them to the best I can, get the fitment as close as I can get it, as close as I can get it, or as close as I want it. So hopefully I can get as much success as I possibly can, because I do not have a lot of faith in this, and if I can pull this off, it will be a miracle. But miracles happen, so I'm gonna jump straight in. So here I am starting the forge welding process, or what should have been a forge welding process, because it ultimately failed, and I was really disappointed, and I just wanted to be done. But the sword, if you will, was calling to me to continue to fight back. So I did. I cut off a new piece of spring steel, a new piece of leaf spring steel, and I just kept working at it. I forged out a brand new blade, as you can see me doing right here. I forged out a brand new blade, so the next day I could get to weld it on. I didn't forge weld it, unfortunately, and that really was upsetting. I had to MIG weld it on, but at that point in time, looking at the broken sword and the failed forge weld, and taking a small little break inside, I could not accept no for an answer. I couldn't accept throwing all of that time and energy that I spent on that guard away. So I just decided that I am going to fix it. I wanted to fix it because I wanted to repair and fix it, because starting over, yeah, would have been a better choice, but not every moment in the time and in life you can just restart. You have to pick up the pieces of where you left off, whether you were left with a bunch of good pieces or a bunch of bad pieces. And in this instance, it was a bunch of bad pieces that I had to MIG weld back together. But I learned a lot from just biting my tongue and then just accepting it, that I have to finish it. I have to make it work. I learned a lot from just gritting my teeth and fighting back in this process. I could have very well just stayed inside, took a break for the night, and came back at it with a fresh mind, and ultimately probably could have been better, but I learned a lot about determination and fighting back in this instance, of just not accepting that failure and letting that failure win and get to me. So I think that was definitely a teaching moment when it came to this sword. Okay, so that was a lot of me not really showing you guys anything. Obviously, you saw me make the new blade for the handle. So that was a lot of me just talking while I was doing a lot of the work on this new blade. So right now, so I got this thing basically all hand sanded up. The guard, mainly the guard, the handle is really close, like what we'd call the tang, is really close to final finish. The blade is the final finish right now. I did kind of sort of a normalizing cycle on it. I just ran out of propane, so it barely got it up to a dull red. So I'm going to have to deal with that. I think I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. So right now, just to keep the project moving, even though it's going to be late, unfortunately, I'm going to work on the stone setting. Not setting the stone in completely. I am just going to carve out where it's going to be, like engrave out where it's going to set, and basically get it roughly fit in. And then once the blade is fully hardened, I will worry about actually setting it and everything. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. And don't worry about me showing you hand sanding, because I'm going to have to hand sand this a whole lot more when it's fully hardened, because I'll have to get that oxide layer off. So don't worry about missing out on the copious hours of hand sanding I've had to do on this sword. But it's looking really good, so I'm just going to jump straight into this, do a little bit of thinking, a little bit of laying out, and some scribe lines and such, and I'll get to showing you really the in-depth part of all this. So just going to jump right in. This is the sapphire that I got. It's not super big, but on the guard it will definitely show up, which I'm really happy about. So just going to jump straight in, because other than potentially breaking the sword again, this is probably the make or break, because it'll be very difficult to get out the spot that I'm going to be engraving. So just gonna try it and see what all happens. Okay, so you guys just saw me sharpen the sword, and I apologize for a lot of the processes that I have been doing recently in this particular video with the handling, some of the stone setting, and then the sharpening. And I did skip a lot of the hand setting. You guys saw a little bit of it, but not a ton of it. I apologize for that. Just forgot to turn the camera on a lot, just in the moment working on it, so I very much apologize for that. But yeah, the sword is done. I was planning on making a sheath or a scabbard. I really don't know the difference. A sheath or a scabbard for it, but I really don't have the materials to do that. And I really want this sword out to get to my friend, or more specifically my friend's dad. So it's going to be just a sword and no scabbard or sheath. So enough with that. I'm going to show you the sword finally done. So here finally is a completed sword, and I'm super happy with this. Obviously there are some imperfections. You can see some of the epoxy I used in the handle. There's some really deep scratches and things like that I could not get out, but I am so incredibly happy with this sword. It looks so nice. I first apologize that this video has taken so long to make. I just apologize for that, but here is the sword. It's not perfect, but this sword is easily the best sword I've made, and it really taught me and showed me how humbling making a sword can be. And I've already had 3-4 swords under my belt at this point in time, but this sword shows how humbling making a sword is. You can make a knife super good, but a sword will instantly humble you in the aspect that there's a lot more work, a lot more imperfections, and a lot more things you have to deal with and manage. And I definitely learned that.